Let's get this out of the way up front. This is not a news broadcast, and I am not your local anchor. This is an opinion rant, emphasis on rant, because sometimes the polite NPR way approved of discussing things just doesn't cut it when someone drives a car into a church and starts shooting. Apparently, we're all supposed to sit around, hands folded, waiting for the official motive before we admit what we just watched. A car plowed into an LDS chapel, followed by gunfire. And the collective response is, let's not rush to judgment. Excuse me, if this exact scenario had played out at a mosque, a synagogue, or heaven forbid, a Whole Foods parking lot, we'd already have hashtags, vigils, and think pieces about the decline of civility. But because it's a Mormon church, we get the bureaucratic show, too early to speculate. No, it is not too early. You don't turn a house of worship into a demolition derby because your GPS glitched. You don't chamber rounds into a building full of families because you are having a bad day. This was not a Yelp review gone wrong. This was a targeted attack. And whether the shooter had a 10-page manifesto or just a head full of static, they picked a place where a specific group of people gathers and tried to make them stop gathering permanently. If that's not intolerance, then the word has lost all meaning. But here's the insult on top of the injury. We treat intolerance like it's Voldemort. We can't even say the word until the authorities grant permission. Don't jump to conclusions, we're told. Fine, let's do this dance. We won't call a duck until the duck hires a lawyer, makes a sworn statement, and confirms under oath that it went quack. We've gotten so good at waiting for official motives that we've turned common sense into a conspiracy theory. Imagine if your neighbor ran over your mailbox every Sunday for a month and you said, I think he hates my mailbox. And your HOA replied, well, let's just wait for the police report to see if there's a motive. Here's why this matters. Freedom of religion isn't just a nice slogan we put on posters in civics class. It's the whole point of the First Amendment. Not just so Congress can avoid establishing a national church, but so the mob, the angry loner with a grudge, the zealot with a weapon, doesn't get to decide who worships here. Every time we soft pedal violence like this, we chip away at that social contract. We send a message that some faiths are worth defending loudly, and some are worth defending only after a press conference. That's not neutrality. That's moral triage. Pretending this might not be intolerance is like saying, sure, a guy set fire to the library, but let's not assume he hates books. Maybe he just doesn't like that particular Dewey Decimal section. Or, yeah, he keyed every car in the synagogue parking lot, but until he tells us why, we should just assume he was practicing modern art. We never apply that logic anywhere else. If a guy walked into a vegan restaurant wearing a bacon costume and started flipping tables, we wouldn't need a TED Talk to figure out his motive. So yeah, I'm calling it early. This was intolerance with horsepower and a fully loaded magazine. And if we keep pretending that targeted violence against less mainstream faiths is just a random Tuesday until proven otherwise, we're one press conference away from normalizing it. But here's the thing, intolerance doesn't knock politely. It doesn't wait for the investigation to conclude. It drives straight through the front doors and makes its case with bullets. And until we start calling that what it is, loud, clear, and immediately, we're going to keep having these conversations right up until someone rams their car into your church, mosque, synagogue, temple, or gathering place. And by then, you'll be praying someone calls it what it is before the next guy reloads. So here's your homework. Don't wait for the press release to care. Support your local faith communities, all of them. Show up for the LDS congregation the same way you'd show up for a synagogue, a mosque, a black church, or a Sikh temple under attack. Write your local officials and demand that they take threats against any house of worship seriously. And remind your neighbors that religious liberty is a package deal. You either defend it for everyone or eventually you lose it for yourself.